Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the regular scheduled Village Board meeting for June 10th, 2025. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A lot of roll call, please.
Mayor DeBold.
Here.
Trustees Amos.
Here.
Babiak. Here. Brockman.
Here.
Chapman. Luciano. And Selfridge.
Here.
All right. We do have enough to have a quorum and conduct village business for this evening. With that, are there any citizens wishing to address the village board? Seeing none, we will move into this evening's consent agenda. Item number 1 will be approval of the regular meeting minutes for May 27th, 2025. Item 2 will be approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes for May 27th, 2025. Approval of accounts payable in the amount of $735,109.55. Item 4 is approval of a payment in the amount of $20,140.52 to Porter Corporation for the Fawn Park Shelter. Item 5 is approval of payment in the amount of $454,544.56 to Austin Tower Construction for our 2025 MFT. Item 6 is a payment in the amount of $11,583.75 to Cornwall Engineering for the Shorewood Water Transfer Plan. Item 7 is a payment in the amount of $86,990 to Play Power LT for Fawn Park Playground Equipment. Number 8 is approval of payment in the amount of $16,360 to Sikich for CPA L 2025 auditing services. A couple more. And item 9 is approval of payment in the amount of $93,836.28 to Hydrovision Technologies for the 2025 Basin 2 Sewer TV project. And finally, an approval of payment in the amount of $73,239.10 to Schwartz Construction Group for the Rivers Edge Park Phase B project. Are there any items, anybody has any questions or need any further information? If not, we'll take a motion to approve our consent.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second. Motion by trustee Amos, seconded by trustee Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Babiak. Yes. Brockman.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right, moving into section D would be our reports and communications. Alana, was there anything that you received prior to this evening's board meeting?
No, sir.
Thank you. I have nothing at this time. We'll move into this evening's order of business. We do have quite a bit on our agenda tonight, so we'll move right into it. Item number 1 is a consideration for approval of an ordinance regarding the administrative fees and procedures for impounding vehicles for certain criminal and traffic offenses. This item is up for a first read. Over to the police chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Honored to be going first tonight. I think that is a first, that I'm going first. Yeah. Before you is an ordinance that was prepared by our legal firm providing for administrative fees and procedures for impounding vehicles for certain criminal and traffic offenses. Section 511-208-7 of the Illinois Vehicle Code authorizes municipalities to impose a reasonable administrative fee related to its administrative and processing costs associated with the investigation, arrest, and detention of an offender, or the removal, impoundment, storage, or release of the vehicle. As you know, when the village impounds a vehicle because of its use in connection with certain criminal or traffic offenses, the vehicle is taken to the village's impound lot. The village incurs costs by completing reports for the incident, several administrative tasks we have to complete, maintain the impound lot to include security monitoring, etc. This is also something we would be able to do in lieu of seizing somebody's vehicle permanently. The proposed ordinance would authorize a $500 administrative fee when a probable cause exists to believe that a vehicle was used in connection with the commission of a certain criminal or traffic offense as set forth in Section 6-3-1B. This is in line with what other municipalities in Will County charge and what has been being done for over 30 years in the state of Illinois. The fee is imposed on the registered owner or their agent and is payable directly to the village. If the vehicle is properly impounded and the administrative fee is not paid, the vehicle will remain impounded. In order to provide the interested parties with procedural due process, the ordinance requires the village to provide notice and to conduct a hearing. The primary hearing will be conducted by the village's administrative adjudication officer, who will determine whether probable cause exists to believe the vehicle is used in the commission or attempt to commit an offense. In conducting the hearing officer is subject to the requirements of section 6-3-3. There's also an option for a preliminary hearing, which could be held by myself or my designee. The ordinance is attached and is on the agenda for tonight for your approval. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions for the chief on that ordinance?
I do, Chief. How quickly could somebody get in to see the adjudicator to have their hearing?
If they need emergency hearing, it would be within 40 hours with me or my designee.
Okay.
If not, it would be scheduled for the adjudication date.
Okay. And then this is not a storage fee. Do we have storage fees on top of that, or is that a separate thing, or we don't have storage fees?
We don't have storage fees, but it's brought to our impound lot, so this would cover that. It would be
Okay.
included. There would be no additional charge for storage.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have.
The item's up for a first read. We could leave it and bring it back in 2 weeks, or if everybody's comfortable with it, we can waive the second read and approve said ordinance.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think so. Let's go with it.
I'll make a motion for the approval of an ordinance regarding administrative fees and the procedures for impounding vehicles for certain criminal and traffic offenses and waive the second read.
Second,
Motion trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Brockman. Roll call, please.
Brockman.
yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yeah.
Babiak. Yes.
All right, item one's been approved. Item number two will be consideration for approval of a proposal for professional engineering services with Christopher Burke Engineering for preparation of an updated risk and resilience assessment and emergency response plan for our water supply in an amount not to exceed $24,000. Over to Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. So a risk and resilience assessment and emergency response plan are requirements under the America's Water Infrastructure Act. We completed the first original ones back in 2021 utilizing Seabell services, but an update is required every 5 years. Seabell has completed our first one again in 2021. Our fiscal year budget has a budget of approximately $25,000 for this exercise. We are recommending approval of Seabell's proposal for professional engineering services for our risk and resilient assessment and emergency response plan update in the amount not to exceed $24,000. Any questions?
I think it's pretty straightforward. Was this a newer requirement that was implemented in 21 or in 20?
It was actually required in 2018 with a deadline of 2021.
Got it.
That's why we finished the first one.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
That'd be close to $24,000 of paper that came with this, I'd say, so. My God almighty.
Okay.
Besides you and Jock, anybody else read the whole thing?
Mr. Plise definitely did, and I think you did.
I didn't want to bring that up, but I mean, my God, that's a lot of reading.
We'll need a good update, especially because we are building the pumping station and all of that will now be included.
No other questions or concerns. I'll make a motion for approve a proposal for professional engineering services with Christopher B. Burke for preparation of an updated risk and resilience assessment, which is our RA, and emergency response plan, ERP, for our water supply in amount not to exceed $24,000.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brockman, seconded by trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak. Yes. And Brockman.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item three, don't go far, Public Works. Item three is consideration for approval of a proposal for Monroe Truck for upfitting of our new 2025 Peterbilt single axle chassis plow truck in the amount of $155,810. Back to Public Works.
Thank you again. So we did buy the chassis. The chassis was delivered to us on schedule. And now we're just looking to upfit it with our snow fighting equipment. So that would be the underbelly scraper, the dump body, the spreader, and pre-wet safety system and safety lighting. Our budget reflects $177,000 for this upfitting of this truck. We did go through a number of different vendors. Much of our biggest concerns lately is how long will it take? So with that, we are looking at the Monroe, which is an August 2026 delivery at $155,810. So we are recommending the village board approve the proposal for the upfitting for our 2025 Peterbilt single axle truck from Monroe in the amount of $155,810. Any questions?
What was the base truck? I forgot the price.
I
Just-
forgot as
just
well, sir.
ballpark number.
135,000, is a guess.
29 cents.
So we got $280,000 plus in this vehicle, and when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Okay,
Take a motion to approve.
make a motion to approve a proposal from Monroe for uplifting our new 2025 Peterbilt single axle chassis in the amount of $155,810.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brockman, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Amos,
Yes.
Debbiak. Yes. Brockman.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 4B, consideration for approval of a resolution accepting a grant of easement for the municipal utility easement and temporary construction easement for the village of Shorewood and the associated PIN numbers for said project. Public Works.
Thank you again, Mayor. So this again is moving forward with the alternative source water program. We are upsizing and replacing the 50-year-old water main along Park Shore, all the way from Black down to south down to US 52. Much of the water main is a mixture of 6-inch and 8-inch ductile iron pipe that will be replaced and upsized to a 12-inch PVC. Our existing water main runs through the Shorewood Plaza property. More specifically, it is located right at the front doors of the Corrigan's restaurant. We are proposing to relocate that portion of the water main along their eastern property line that's shared with the Jewel Shopping Center. We have been working with the Micah's family, and they have been very cooperative with this endeavor. Both a temporary construction easement and a permanent easement will be required for the village's interests. Attorney Silverman's office has reviewed the proposed easement agreement. Staff is recommending the resolution and easement agreement, I apologize. Staff is recommending approving the resolution, approving the easement agreement for the municipal utility easement and temporary construction easement to the village for the properties identified as 050609-409-023. The other one is -024. The next is 026-031 and -048. Any questions?
Any questions on the
Well,
easement?
this, I'm not too concerned, but I'm sure you discussed this with the family. How will this, does it impact the business at all, parking or what have you?
There will be impacts during construction, which we are working with both the Micah's family, because it's their property, and of course, each business owner that it affects.
Okay,
We
thank
will
you.
do our best to reduce that inconvenience.
Very good, thank you.
I'll make a motion for the approval of a resolution accepting a grant of easement agreement for the municipal utility easement and temporary construction easement to the village of Shorewood for property PIN numbers 050609-409, and then the last four digits 023, 024, 026, 031, and 048.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Debbiak. Yes. Brockman.
yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right. The next few items are all tied into license agreements for us going under the tracks at a couple different locations. So item number 5 is a consideration for approval license agreement for underground pipelines, cables, and conduits between the village of Shore and Wisconsin Central for both the water main and fiber optics crossings at Sile Road.
Thank you again, Mayor. So, like the mayor said, is that we have a number of projects that we are proposing our utilities to cross. This first one is at Sile, where we are crossing with a water main and a fiber optic cable. In order to cross their right-of-way, they require payment of $4,800 for each of the crossings and a license agreement and insurance to be posted. Attorney Silverman's office has reviewed the standardized license agreement and recommended approval. We are recommending approval of the license agreement between the village and Wisconsin Central Railroad for water main and fiber optic conduit crossings at the Sile Road. Any questions for this one?
I just had more in general, are the fees kind of like a standard fee, is something set by that?
Yes, depending on the location and the size of the cable itself or the utility itself.
And that just kicks out a number?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
What are you thinking in terms of timing on this one, Noriel?
So this one's at Sile, so we have already awarded the contract to Pertano.
Yeah.
We are going through all the submittals. We're working with them regarding some of the submittals and some of the construction. As you already can see, then may possibly seen and noticed that the pumping station has already begun. This will just seal the deal for the crossing at the railroad.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
With that, I'll make a motion for the approval of a license agreement for underground pipelines, cables, and conduits between the village and Wisconsin Central for both the water main and fiber optic crossings at Sile Road.
Second.
Motion trustee Selfridge, seconded trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Debbiak. Yes.
All right, item number 6 is virtually the same thing, just a different location. So it's also up for a consideration for approval of a license agreement for underground pipelines, cables, and conduits between the Village of Shorewood and Wisconsin Central for both water main and sanitary sewer crossings at Route 52. It's not Route 59, it's at Route 52.
Thank you. Any questions?
It's kind of the same thing, just on Sile, but obviously this is for the access points at 52.
Any reason that's gotta be 15-foot deep?
No, sir. Well, there are a number of pipeline utilities that are at certain depths. So, of course, I would like our utility, at least the water main, only 5.5 feet deep. It makes it easy for our equipment. And then our sanitary within 10, 11, 12 feet at most, because again, that's how much our equipment can reach.
Right.
But we would have to go deeper based on elevations of what's existing there.
That's pretty deep. Thank you.
It won't freeze.
I'll make a motion for the approval of a license agreement for underground pipelines, cables, and conduits between the village and Wisconsin Central for both the water main and sanitary sewer crossings at Route 52.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Brockman. Roll call, please.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Debbiak. Yes. And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, one more rail crossing agreement, and that is the consideration for approval license agreement for underground pipelines, cables, conduits between the Village of Shorewood and Wisconsin Central for the proposed Auburn Chase subdivision sanitary sewer crossing. This one is Sile Road to the south.
Thank you again, Mayor. So this is for the development. We are the ones that are going to enter into this license agreement because once it's constructed, it will be turned over to the village for our ownership and maintenance. So again, this is for the sanitary service that is servicing that development. It is approximately 2,000 feet south of the Sile Road intersection where the proposed crossing will be located. We are recommending that this is also the license agreement between the village and Wisconsin Central Railroad for the sanitary sewer crossing south of Sile is approved as well. Any questions?
Motion approved as read by Noriel Noriega.
Motion by trustee Amos,
Second.
second by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Amos.
Yes.
Debbiak. Yes. Brockman.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
All right. Item number 8 is consideration for approval of the purchase in the amount of $13,561.06 to Reindeers for the replacement of the Outerbind aerator fountain. Public Works again.
So we have 3 fountains in the town center pond. One was replaced last year. We have one that is functioning and installed currently. This last one could not make it for this season, so we are requesting replacement of such. Our fiscal year budget includes $14,000 for this replacement. We believe that last one that we just put in will last one more season, so look forward to another request possibly next year, but we'll know more when we pull it this year. And staff is recommending village board approve the proposal from Reindeers totaling $13,561.06 for the replacement of just one aerator. Any questions?
It's expensive, isn't it?
They are.
I'm making a motion for the approval of the purchase in the amount of $13,561.06 to Reindeers for replacement Otterbein aerator fountain.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Babiak? Yes. Brockman?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
And Amos?
Yes.
Thank you.
Business item number 9, be consideration for approval of an ordinance amending the Village of Shorewood Code of Ordinances and adopting rules for public comment at open meetings. This item is up for a first read. We assigned the administrator to this. You want to highlight it? This is obviously the discussion point we discussed a couple of weeks back.
Correct, it's the agreement, it's the ordinance that was discussed at the committee the whole last time. At the board's direction, it includes the 3-minute individual time limit, but not an overall time limit. Otherwise, it's the same ordinance we've had up before you.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
No, I appreciate everyone kind of agreeing not to limit the overall time limit. Just allow everyone to have a chance to speak.
Yeah.
I think that was a fair.
We can leave it on a first, or we can waive it and go and just be done with it.
Might as well get it over.
Be done with it?
I'll make a motion for approval of an ordinance amending the Village Shorewood Code of Ordinances and adopting rules for public comment at open meetings and waive the second reading.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Brockman?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
Amos?
Yes.
And Babiak? Yes.
All right, number 10 will be a consideration for approval of an ordinance amending Title 10 of the Shorewood Village Code regarding accessory solar and wind energy facilities. This item is up for a first read. Trustee Brockman.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda item actually covered 2 meetings. After the second meeting, the commissioners voted 5-0 to send it here for approval, and a lot of talk. And Natalie, you want to fill us in on some of the finer details, please?
Sure. Back in 2023, the village board approved a text amendment that regulated commercial solar and wind facilities. Those are permitted in the industrial district when the business gets a conditional use permit. Last year, we also began discussing smaller scale solar and wind facilities that are accessory to either a home or a business. There was a committee of the whole discussion where the board provided input to staff. Their suggestions included allowing roof-mounted solar in all zoning districts, prohibiting freestanding accessory solar, and allowing a limited amount of wind energy facilities in industrial districts. Based on this input, we created an ordinance draft. We brought it to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission provided some input. We created a second draft, and then at the last meeting, they recommended in favor of that. So I'll go through these, and feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Solar panels, as proposed in the ordinance, would be allowed on roofs in all zoning districts. We've included a 1-foot setback around the roof, so that would be from the eaves of the roof or from the peak of the roof. Stationary panels only, so you couldn't have panels that move with the sun. There are the same glare regulations for the commercial solar facilities, and there's a stipulation that the energy must be used within the property and any surplus sold to the grid, so you can't use it for commercial purposes or to sell to a neighbor or anything like that. At the Planning and Zoning Commission's suggestion, we also added some language that allows building integrated and building applied photovoltaics. So these are things like solar shingles, solar windows and things like that that are part of the building material used to construct buildings. Some examples are shown on the screen. And we did put a stipulation in there that they need to be designed so they blend with the architecture of the home as well as the surrounding neighborhood. Where would they be allowed? According to this proposal, they would be allowed on principal structures. That was the original recommendation of the village board. We also, at the suggestion of the Planning and Zoning Commission, opened that up a little bit. So we suggested that they also be allowed on detached garages, but not on other accessory structures like sheds, gazebos, carports, and whatnot. Here's an example of the ordinance. I did summarize it, but basically it talks about allowing them only on the roof of the principal or structure or the detached garages, keeping it 1 foot from the edge of the peak, allowing the building integrated materials without any setback requirements, provided that they're designed to blend in, and no mechanical equipment being on the front of the building. We talk about having it parallel to the roof pitch, stationary, having protective netting for birds, maintenance, glare, having the energy used on the premises, and also have stipulations for what needs to happen if it's not being used, and basically it would have to be removed within a year. In terms of accessory wind energy facilities, we've included these as conditional uses in the industrial zoning district. Because this isn't really something we've seen before, we did keep it quite limited. We talked about having a maximum blade diameter of 15 feet and allowing one freestanding wind turbine per lot in an industrial district if there was a conditional use. The setbacks read similar to the commercial wind energy facilities where they're a factor of the height of the structure. In terms of accessory wind energy facilities, we do propose to allow these on the roofs of industrial buildings to a maximum height of 15 feet taller than the building. There would have to be a 5 feet buffer from the lowest point of anything that rotates to the principal structure. And this sort of incentivizes the idea of doing a new number of small turbines as opposed to one big one. And then there are some motionless systems where there's no rotation. You can see those could go all the way to the roof line. Here's the ordinance details. They'd be allowed in industrial districts with conditional uses. The setbacks are based on the height. Building mounted turbines have to be at least 5 feet from the edge of the roof, and they can't be located over a road or an easement. We want to make sure that they're safe. They can't be more than 15 feet taller than the principal structure. We require a 15-foot clearance from the blade to the ground, a 5-foot clearance from the blade to a roof, and there's also stipulations in there to make sure that people can't climb up and that there aren't guy wires or obstructive colors or that all the electrical's underground and things like that. No illumination other than what would be required by the FAA, and no advertising. They have to meet industry standards, have insurance, there's a maintenance required, sound limit, and then they have to be also removed within a year. There's more details there if they're not removed. So the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended in favor of this. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Here we had a public hearing, and I don't believe anybody rose for or against the project or the agenda item, so.
The wind turbine commercial is only for commercial, is that right?
Only for industrial.
And it's, thank you.
Now,
And
now,
it's-
to be honest, at the height that we've proposed,
Yeah.
it's really a very small scale commercial wind turbine.
Yeah, 15, okay, 15, 15, and 15, right?
Yeah.
All right, so, and it's one.
One if it's freestanding. If they do the roof mounted ones, they can have multiple. So, you know, one windmill, but if you did roof mounted, they could essentially line them all along their roof. I'll pull up some pictures that will show
Thank you
with
very
them.
much. Thanks, Natalie.
No problem.
A lot of information here, and this is a first read, but I think staff has really come through a good-looking ordinance, so, and,
I've got a question on the accessory structure, and I know I had asked you the difference between a garage and a shed, and you gave me size. Is there anything else, and I guess my thought is what's the difference between a garage and shed, right? Where if it's just size, does a garage have to have a driveway up to it, or can you just build a large shed, call it a garage, throw solar panels on it in the middle of your backyard?
Sure. So I would like to say that our code requires a driveway to a garage, but that's actually not part of it. So that's something we may want to consider doing in the future. There is no requirement that garage have a driveway. However, we do limit sheds to 150 square feet, and when you do the dimensions for what you need to park a car, which is a requirement for a garage, it has to be at least 162 square feet. So there is no crossover there.
So you can't make a shed in your backyard, but you can make a garage in your backyard that's effectively a larger shed just by changing the name. And then you could put solar panels on it. My other thought, or I guess question two, if you're putting panels on a garage, a detached garage or a detached large shed, does the power generated from that have to go to a box only at that garage, or are they allowed to run conduit then to their house and then if they can, does that have to be underground? Or can they run wires from their detached garage to their house?
I think it's a question for Bob.
Most cases it would be underground.
Is it required to be underground?
I would have to check, I think the only time you would be involved with above ground is if it's, overhead service to the house. But that would just be in some of our local areas, and I'd have to look into it. I think you would still go underground cost effectively, and I would like to see it underground as opposed to above. If you go above ground, you have certain restrictions, you have to be at a certain height over residential property.
Bob, doesn't our building code require even any building has to be in conduit anyway? Within construction?
Yeah, anything that a builder is doing would be
So
in
would that-
conduit. Underground, they could use a PVC raceway as long as they're buried deep enough.
Wouldn't that, I mean, if you're putting solar panels on, wouldn't that qualify as new construction and be mandated to be at least be an underground pipe?
It would be mandated to be in pipe. I would just have to check with the state statute on if we would allow it above ground.
I know it's a first read, so I don't know if anyone's in a rush to, it was just something I thought of. And maybe, you know, thinking what the board originally thought was no accessory structures. I know we brought this as a compromise, and maybe we have to define accessory structures so as to not create like loopholes. Again, if that's important to people, that's my just thought. And then I was worried about the electricity coming from like an accessory structure to a house and how that would go, because I'm assuming it's high voltage electricity on these things. I don't know either, right?
We can certainly make an amendment to include the fact that it would have to be run underground, or we can eliminate the
Accessory structure.
the accessory structure.
Does anyone else on the board have thoughts on the accessory structures?
Not on that, but I've got a question on another thing.
The accessory structure one, I mean, I'm indifferent. The other thing I think we're challenged on a lot of them is, we do have a lot of HOAs that tend to regulate what you can and can't do. I don't know that a HOA is gonna find it permissible to throw a garage in the backyard anymore, let alone, I don't think the lots are big enough on a lot of them.
But the garage is a shed by a different name, right? So that's,
Perhaps.
And I don't think HOAs can regulate solar panels.
No, but they could regulate the permissibility of putting the structure in
Gotcha.
place.
The other thing I guess to keep in mind too is most detached garages in Shorewood are in established neighborhoods, and it is much more difficult to use solar panels in areas that are older because they have more mature trees. So in reality, we're not opening it up to very many people by allowing them on detached garages.
We can leave it as a first read anyway, that way we can give Bob an opportunity to clarify some of that, and then if there's anything else regarding language for clarity, we can sort that out.
The one other thing I've got is, so, accessory or not, solar panels are residential. There's not really anything else. We're not putting things on poles. I don't see anything here. We're allowing a turbine, whether they're roof mounted or standalone structure in a backyard. Is that right?
No, the only place that you'd be allowed to do a wind turbine or the wind system is in an industrial district with a conditional use, so you wouldn't be able to do it in the backyard.
The ones that don't try to look like trees and all this other stuff that they'll come up with, right?
Yeah, they're prohibited.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if I think I'll come across any other questions, at least over the next couple of weeks, we'll get those clarifications in place. We'll leave that one as a first read.
Thank you.
No worries. Item number 11 will be consideration for approval of a resolution approving a site plan amendment to allow a building addition for graphic promotions at 405 Earl Road. Back over to trustee Brockman.
Thank you again, Mayor. Two gentlemen are in the audience tonight, came before us and showed us what they want to do with their building. Commissioners were very agreement with the 5-0 vote here. Comes to here with a 5-0 vote. And Natalie, you want to explain few of the details, please?
Sure. Graphics Promotions is currently located at 405 Earl Road. They've been in business for 30 years. I believe it's about 12 years they've been at this location. About 10 years ago, they put on an addition that's shown in green here. And they would like to sort of mirror that addition and put on some extra land, shown in blue here, which basically is about the same size as what they had before. They plan to add a 100-foot by 50-foot addition. The building material and the color will match what's existing, which is basically like a tan color. There will be 1 bay doors and 2 standard doors. No stormwater infrastructure is necessary. It's currently a paved area, and all of that was taken into account when it was previously done. There are some lights that were put on the addition in 2015. They will be relocated to the new part of the building, but basically they're the same distance from the other houses, and they have provided photometrics plans to demonstrate that they won't spill over onto the neighboring properties. They'll be eliminating some of the parking spaces, but in fact, they'll actually add more new parking spaces along the edge of the building, so I believe there's a net gain of 8 parking spaces. Here's a sort of 3D view of what you're looking at, and here's the photometrics plan. 15 parking spaces along the drive aisle, 3 spaces in the corner will be eliminated, but there'll be 8 additional parking spaces, so they're taking the total from 18 to 23. The dumpster will be relocated, but it will be enclosed along the rear of the building as well. And then the owners are here. Did you have any questions?
Seems to be pretty straightforward.
Nice, clean project, so. With that, make a motion to approve a resolution approving a site plan amendment to allow a building addition for Graphics Promotions at 405 Earl Road.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brockman, second trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Bavia,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item 11 is approved. Item number 12, discussion of a concept plan for a new townhome development on Sile Road. Trustee Brockman and Ms. Engel.
Okay, thank you again, Mayor. Well, I can just briefly say we had a nice discussion that night with the commissioners, and Natalie, you want to detail what they want to do out there?
Certainly. We're excited to be talking about a new residential development. This property is on Sile Road, on the south side of the road, across from the fire station and a little bit west of Windstone. Shorewood Glen's on the north, Hidden Creek is to the west, Kipling Estates townhomes are to the south. And then there are some adjacent properties, the McCoy property and property that's owned by the United Methodist Church to the east. Property is roughly 7.66 acres and is currently unincorporated. They've proposed to build 13 buildings with 3 units in each, so it's a total of 39 dwelling units. The access road is off of Sile Road, and it'll be essentially 2 cul-de-sacs that are stubbed. There will be stormwater detention areas south of the residences. Right now, they've got the roads drawn in as 14 feet with sort of dead-ended roads. We are going to be meeting with them just to talk about what the expectations are and refining the site plan to make sure that we're bringing something back that works, but certainly they'd love to hear your input as well. As I mentioned, these are 3-unit buildings. They're going to have 2 ranch units, one on either end, and a 2-story unit in the middle. Each building's pad area is about 60 by 120 feet. Each house has a 2-car garage. The front elevations will have brick veneer, ephes or cultured stone, and vinyl windows, vinyl siding on the remaining elevations. They've got 512 roof pitches on the ranches and 612 on the 2-story units. I'm going to show you an example. This is not the exact building that's being proposed here, but it's a very similar building that they're building at Creekside Estates in Shanahan. They build these buildings with empty nesters in mind, so they're high-end finishes. They all have 2 or 3 bedrooms. Sometimes people like to opt for a dining room instead of a bedroom, so they do that. The ranch units will all have partial basements. The 2-story units will have full basements. They've got an 8-inch block wall between each of them that runs all the way up to the roof to provide for sounds for sound deadening. And they're going to condo the buildings so that they've got common green space around them that's maintained by the association. Mr. Slavic and his partner are here. Did you have any questions?
Anything you want to add, Mr. Slavic? Anybody have any questions for him on it?
Not a question, I guess maybe a comment, and I know it was asked at the planning and zoning about parking, and you had mentioned that there would be enough room in the driveways for 2 cars, right? So you'd have 2 cars in the garage, 2 cars in the driveway. I don't know what thought, but when you guys are going through planning, my only concern looking at this is, where's the extra parking, right? When people have family gatherings or anything like that,
It's very narrow and normally it's like.
is there gonna be street parking? Is it gonna be wide enough? Maybe it would be parking on one side, maybe there's parking at the ends, just, that's my, like, I'm just thinking about that as I look at that space, and I remember like visiting things like this, and especially at like Thanksgiving and Christmas time, right? Like, that's when there's always.
And that's
cars.
part of their discussion.
Yeah.
Staff's gonna follow up on what the, road requirements are gonna be.
Yeah.
That's the biggest variable that they took out of that.
We know Mr. Slavic has a very nice ability to move quickly on a project, so what we wanted to do is make sure that we brought this to you early, so you could
Yeah.
take a look at it and then work out the details. I think what we need to figure out is, can we get these roads wider so that there's parking? And is that practical given the driveways, or does it make more sense to do accessory parking? So definitely things we'll talk about when we meet, and happy to maybe provide an updated plan when we have it in the monthly report, if that's helpful.
I think the big thing, obviously, it's a concept. Does everybody support the concept of the development?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, logistically, staff can, work with the developer in that regard, and making certain streets are of adequate width and that, make those certain accommodations.
Yeah, backs up to other towns.
100%.
That's that area, yeah.
Looks like a good project. At the 24-foot street, what was the idea behind that, to propose that?
Well, we only have so much depth,
Uh-huh.
so by the time we get our stormwater detention at the bottom, and then the street, and then 2 rows of units, one on either side.
Sure.
You start to run out of space, but we'll definitely see what we can do, and see if we can't get those streets a little wider.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions, comments?
No, thank you.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 13 will be a consideration for approval of a resolution from the Village of Shorewood, Illinois, objecting to the issuance of a special use permit to Black Road Solar One LLC to allow a commercial solar facility on the property situated in close proximity to the corporate limits of the Village of Shorewood. The next 3 items are in regards to the Village of Shorewood received notification regarding 3 different solar applications. These have obviously these fall within our planning jurisdiction as noted by code. Therefore, we have been notified. These properties are within our zoning requirements as R1, or at least residential development. The letter of the objection would be very similar to what we did in the Sile Road property a couple of years ago, that these solar facilities will have an impact on the village's planning. Not to mention, just based on what you're looking at there, the top corner on Solar One, the City of Joliet, the Grand Prairie Water Commission, and the Village of Shorewood have all been notified of this project. And at this time, they're proposing upwards of 33 acres of solar. Their bigger concern right now is nothing stops them from coming back and trying to place additional. Therefore, but again, it has a significant impact to the Village of Shorewood, and especially for what we need for rooftops moving into our lake water project. So this is all stuff that we have allocated our resources and our planning for the Water Commission, for our water resources, and what potential housing build-out looks like. So you will see the next 3 items under Solar One, Solar Two, and the Pivot Energy component, asking for resolutions about opposing this. And once we submit these, they are attached to the docket through the county. The first step is a planning and zoning hearing within the county. It then moves to a land use hearing before it moves to the full county board. Anything you want to add to that, Natalie, or not? But I think that image that you had on that map is very clear about it does have a significant impact on that. And for those of you that may also reference Solar 2, then potentially is right next to where the folks that right down there, Solar 2, the folks that brought forth wanting to create the wedding venue facility right down there at the corner of Balton County Lead Road. So there are some other business implications that would impose, and we do feel that would start to impede that. especially if we're looking at trying to celebrate and make a nice parcel out there that's gonna have a wedding venue. I don't know that that's the best use for the land out there. So that's one of the concerns again, and now they're trying to apply on that, and solar. The other one is 71 acres, and at this time, they're trying to apply for special use upwards of 24. Our fear is that they're gonna come back and try doing this again. We could potentially end up with a solar farm from Black Road to Route 52. And that is a huge concern for us. And then the third item is the Pivot Energy one. As noted, that is upwards of 58 acres covering the entire triangle from Route 52 to County Line Road, encompassed by Balch Road. We obviously have underlying safety concerns on the fact of that intersection already is a concern. We know IDOT's already deemed it a dangerous intersection, and we know that there's realignment coming to that intersection with a roundabout. So we feel that that's just another impeding aspect of how that could be applied. And again, as we continue, we're in the process of moving sewer and water west of the tracks on Route 52, which opens up all of that land for development, which would, again, that's another 58 acres of homes and different development that would be beneficial to the village. Now, anything that you want to add that you've learned about this? I know that the first resolution is in regards to Black Road Solar 1 LLC.
Sure. I guess just to point out, typically these solar farms are looking to build 4.99 megawatt facilities because that keeps them under a certain amount of regulation. That typically translates to a 30-acre solar farm. If you were to consider a 30-acre solar, that 30-acre property, if it were to be developed as residential at a fairly low density, we'd be talking about 75 housing units. So for Black Road Solar 1 and Black Road Solar 2, with the area they're proposing, those are each equivalent to about 75 housing units. For the Pivot Energy, they're actually proposing to put 2 solar farms on the property, so that would be the equivalent of about 145 maybe housing units at the 58 acres. So, it's something to consider.
So all total about 250 homes or so, give or take?
Yes, yeah, probably just, this is just under 60, so probably about 290 maybe.
But there's a potential of upwards of 300, upwards almost 300 homes that this could impact our ratepayers and impedes our growth. But again, we took the position, as referenced before, we are permitted by state law to have zoning requirements, zoning rights within 1.5 miles of our corporate limits. Anybody else have any other questions on that?
Just curiosity, do folks proposing this stuff, do they look at our plan? Do they know of it? Just curious.
They look at it because we tell them about it.
Yeah.
We really go with the concept of if we think that there's gonna be an objection, we make sure to tell the applicants early so that they know and don't get surprised. So we have, since the very beginning of them looking at this, told them that we have concerns that we think that the village will most likely object. Bottom line, they, still wanna take their chances with
Sure.
the county.
And they know where we kind of have a spot for this stuff?
Yes.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'll take a motion to approve a resolution objecting to the solar project referenced as Black Road Solar 1.
They need to be separate.
Yes, they need to be separate.
I'll make a motion for the approval of a resolution of the Village of Shorewood, Illinois, objecting to the issuance of a special use permit to Black Road Solar 1 LLC to allow a commercial solar energy facility on the property situated in close proximity to the corporate limits of the village.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Amos,
Yes.
Pavliak,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, moving on to business item number 14, this will be the same thing regarding going to be consideration for approval of a resolution for the Village of Shorewood, Illinois, objecting to the issuance of a special use permit to Black Road Solar 2 LLC to allow a commercial energy facility on the property situated in close proximity to the corporate limits.
Motion to approve as read.
Motion by trustee Amos, seconded by trustee Brockman. Roll call, please.
Pavliak,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yep.
Chapman,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
and Amos.
Yes.
All right, and final item 15 will be consideration for approval of a resolution for the Village of Shorewood, Illinois, objecting to the issuance of a special use permit to Pivot Energy to allow a commercial solar energy facility on the property situated in close proximity to the corporate limits of the Village of Shorewood.
Motion to approve as read.
Motion by trustee Amos,
Second.
Second by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak.
Yes.
All right, business item number 16, final business item for this evening will be a consideration for approval of an employment agreement between the Village of Shorewood and the Chief Philip Arnold. Aaron,
So we met in executive session last time and came to terms to which the chief has agreed. The document before you reflects the terms that we discussed. The employment agreement is essentially the same as it was the last time. There were some provisions in there for his initial contract that have been removed. But you've had this since Friday. If you have any questions about it, I can answer those, but
council has reviewed this, and this is the document the council brought forward for the board, based on the conversations from executive session.
I'll make a motion for the approval of an employment agreement between the Village of Shorewood and Chief Philip Arnold.
Second.
Motions, trustee Selfridge, second, trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Chapman,
Yeah, just one question. Is that exactly what we talked about during executive session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There have been no changes since?
No, there was a couple of minor things that were applicable in the previous contract that, the council removed.
Right. I apologize for being late tonight, Mr. Mayor.
No problem, sir. Thank you for joining
Ran
us.
into an emergency.
Understand.
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, with that, we'll move into department reports. Right off the top, Mr. Steriati. We'll move into community development.
No report, thank you.
No problem. Finance?
No report, thank you.
We don't have anything for parks this evening. Police?
Just quickly, excuse me, our orientation for the new eligibility list will be here a week from tomorrow on June 18th. Our process filled up within 11 days of the 100 allowable applicants. So that'll be the first step of the process is the orientation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public Works?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Administrator?
no report.
And with that, we'll move into trustee comments. Trustee Amos?
No report, but well done, Parks and Rec, Public Works on the events this past week, the Thursday night, the barbecue and brew on Saturday. We're off to a good start. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Babiak?
I just want to echo the same comments. I really enjoyed going to the barbecue and brews event on Saturday. It was well done, and it's nice that our village has things for our residents to come out and enjoy.
Thank you. Trustee Brockman?
Thank you, Mayor. Our next meeting will be next week, June 17th. We have one agenda item. So hopefully that will eliminate our July meeting, but we'll have to see. But June 17th, 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Chapman?
No report.
Thank you. And trustee Selfridge?
Same comments. You know, there's a ton of people here in Town Center this week and weekend. I was at the barbecue brews briefly at the start, and I had to leave for an event, and by the time I came home, everything was cleaned up. Like, it was very impressive by staff, and everyone appreciates that. I know everyone that lives here, they truly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
One additional comment. I believe we had the whole village staff out there working, so thank you for the police force for all the work they do. Finance folks. Bob, you were probably out there too, weren't you? I'm sure. So thank you to all of our staff. Thank you to all of our staff. Very nice, thank you.
And in regards to that, I did get to the event on the latter end of it, and I heard a variety of residents reach out and give nothing but compliments. I heard it was a nice steady flow of residents coming and visiting from the vendors and the food trucks and listening to music. I did hear numerous compliments of what this board allows and how we do promote different events for our community. And then additionally, last Monday, we did go up to Chicago with the Water Commission, and we did the groundbreaking water toast event. So a little bit of a kickoff, but the Water Commission, that project is starting. that tunnel extension, so that, for those that may recall, that starting point is at 84th and Kedville, am I correct? 84th and Kedville at the Water Management Facility in Chicago. The tunnel extension is 120 feet deep, 10 feet wide, 534 feet long. So it's a pretty impressive start to the project, and, you know, but here we go. So definitely that project kicked off. We had a lot of good publicity, a lot of good feedback. Obviously, a lot of the biggest concern that we heard is the same thing that this board is addressing, what the impacts are going to be to our water rates. And I know, and I'm very appreciative of what this board is doing at trying to monitor that and mitigate what those impacts are going to be to our residents in regards to water rates. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Amos.
Second.
Second by trustee Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Debbiak,
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.